when you start thinking about we call it the rule of one segment, one message, one customer base, and one hook point. And so understanding what's the one message that I want to communicate, what's the one channel, it could be TikTok, it could be LinkedIn, it could be YouTube, it could be Instagram, but you have to specialize on that one channel. And then the one message using hook point. Hook point is, how do you provide information in a way that's engaging and unique that no one else does, right? And you as a business owner can definitely use those strategies and tactics to create engaging content that drives engagement.
Welcome back again to another episode of the Kronos Group Podcast. I am Jerry Brazy, your host. I have with me today Roberto Martinez, and I'm looking forward to this interview. We are going to talk about AI. Let me tell you about Roberto. He is the founder, the operator, and a strategist who works with small and mid-sized businesses that want to grow without lighting themselves on fire in the process, hopefully. His focus is simple. Build clear marketing operating systems. And again, I don't want to just gloss over this. This is the number one conversation I'm having with all of you guys regularly. So I want to dive deep into this because I think it is important. The marketing and operating system, so growth is profitable, but repeatable, and you don't burn yourself out doing it. And what I like about his approach is that it's grounded. It doesn't look like it's chasing trends or selling shortcuts. The guy's in the middle of it, and he's battling, and he's going to be able to bring us some ideas and some insight that we're not going to be able to get from good old social media. So we're going to talk about how operators should really be using AI. And if you're not, you should be. You hear that from me all of the time. How to turn content into a system instead of the daily grind, and how customers actually find businesses now, not how we wish they did. I hope that is an accurate description to some extent, Roberto, and I'm happy to have you coming on. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Jerry, I appreciate the energy. Long time coming. We've been trying to nail this down, so I'm excited to be meeting with you and your community. It's super exciting because it's such an important challenge that we have in front of us today. Not just the burnout, not just AI by every other name, but how to leverage these tools for growth, for scale, for sustainability. So I think what you hit on and that idea of systems, so important nowadays. It's not who has the bigger pocket, who has the bigger budget, but rather who has the best systems in place to capture that value and grow and scale.
Yeah, I think that's a critical part too. Is the democratization almost to. I mean, it's never going to be one-to-one, but the ability of the smaller guys, like so many of the small businesses, to kind of almost compete without having to have the spend that we used to have to do. Or let me ask you, you're the expert. Would you say that's a true statement? That's what it feels like from my side.
I think we should be reversing roles because that's exactly what I've been preaching. I was just in the National Board of Directors meeting, and this is exactly what I touted out, that it's not about the bigger budget. It doesn't matter if you're a Fortune 50 company, Fortune 100 company, or even a Fortune 5 company. It matters if you have your systems in place, and those systems are going to get you over the hump because the budget doesn't matter anymore. Do we have a process, an SOP that understands our workflows? And then we can use agentic AI and that Swiss Army knife that is AI to expedite that operational process to capture that value and lower operational costs. So a lot of promises being made right now in the marketplace. Don't listen to it. It's all about your systems. And if you have a strong system in place that could operationalize your workflow, you're going to capture some of those upsides that AI is promising the world right now.
Yeah. And so to that end, let's go to basics. There is any entrepreneur that has been in the game. I've been in the game 30 years, but so I've seen it, marketing and advertising from yellow pages and radio ads locally to the newspaper, which was largely unaffordable to small businesses for the most part, and everything in between. And I've done all of those things. And many entrepreneurs are going to have this same story. And it's a question I always ask when I'm talking to guys in your space, which is, I think the internet, social media has done, without getting too far into the weeds, into the technicality of what we're going to talk about, just on a surface level, they have done an injustice for you and the guys that are working in your space that have something legitimate to sell, that have legitimate insights that can benefit the end user, the entrepreneur, to help them grow their businesses. But there is so much noise. There are so many programs being sold for $25 a week, and I'll get you 10,000 followers, and we'll get a funnel of new sales coming in, and the first 1,000 you don't pay for. And I mean, you know what I'm talking about. You can't go on the internet without just inundated with this. And I promise you, and you probably know this, but I've dealt with 1,000 small businesses in my lifetime, 7 and 8 figures. And there ain't a one of them doesn't have a horror story about hiring a marketing company that promised the world and could not deliver. So I ask that question. I'm sorry to ramble on. I want to make sure we have good context there and the listeners understand what I'm asking, because I guarantee there's entrepreneurs going, that's me. That's me. What's he going to say here? So let's just start at that kind of surface level refutation, if you will, of what the world looks like to so many of us from the outside, because you're inundated with so much garbage.
There's so much there that so many threads to pull on. So let's just take a step back. Like you said, there's a lot of noise, a lot of signals right now, understanding the values. So in the marketplace, when it comes to agencies, marketing, digital, whatnot, you see a hyper specialization in the space. And that has been happening for the past 10, 15 years. So I think that's the first piece for anyone who's out there trying to hire a marketing agency. No one wants the generalist, they want the specialist. And that's true for a plumber, that's true for a dentist. You want to get the specialist to do the work that you have to be done. And so when you think about it from that lens, as a business owner from 6, 7, 8 figures, regardless, you always want to get that person who's subject matter expert on one thing and one thing only. So if you use that filter, I think you're in a good place. And as an agency owner, you see the progression for the past 10 years of that hyper specialization within the marketing agency space. And truth be told, that's the business model that any business should be following. Specialize, find that one client that you're exceptional in. No one wants second place. No one wants third place. We want number one, and we want it right now. So to that end, that's what I would recommend. Now, when it comes to social media, I think it's a democratic process, and not that people have a vote, but your dollar is your vote. And right now we're voting with attention. And so that's a new reality, the democratization of media. Anyone, Jerry, you're part and parcel of this. You said, hey, I don't need to spend $1,000, $10,000, $50,000, $100,000 to have a platform. I will platform myself and I will have a voice. And I think what I have to say is unique and distinct. Same thing's going on within the agency space. Same thing's going on within the advertising space. And that allows us to be able to compete against the other voices in the marketplace. And as an end result of that democratization is that we have a lot of noise. But cream rises to the top, Jerry, and you know that more than anyone else. This is why people follow your podcast. And so I still believe that if you filter out for that one thing that you need, you're able to find great agencies that provide great work within your local community.
Is there one thing that someone in the market should look for from an agency that might give them a heads up that this is legit, or this is what should we look for when it's time to build a brand, it's time to get out there and get our message out? What should we look for that maybe can help us avoid spending dollars uselessly that aren't going to go anywhere? And I should say, I'll just add on that I'm going to go 50-50 that people buy these programs and bring these people in, and the effort that the people spending the money put in, 50% of the time I would say it's on us that we did not implement the way that we should have. I'll go back to the other side and say the other 50 is BS from the other side, and or they're not doing their homework to make sure that we're capable of doing these things that they're selling to us. So with that, is there one thing that you'd point to and say, yeah, look for this?
Yeah, no, I love that. I have a bridge to sell you, right? There's definitely one. It's just, we're social animals as human beings. Get back to the basics. Like you said in the very beginning, nothing is new under the sun. It's just being repackaged, reformatted, and we marketed in a way. And so the yellow pages became Google Business Profile. And so as you start seeing, I think referrals are the key. You trust someone within your network referring you to a lawyer, a doctor, a gardener. That referral piece is extremely important, and having that trust when you actually give your dollar away because you've done your due diligence and talk to different vendors that they work with, different success stories. And it's in part an honest to actually go out there and do our due diligence and talk to those other clients that they work with, other customers that they work with, to see if they were able to deliver on the promises. Now, on the implementation phase, there's a lot of content being pushed out now that they could, jump higher, run faster. And what that really comes down to is that there's a methodology in place. They're just, those marketers or entrepreneurs or brand specialists are following a methodology, a roadmap, if you will, that's tried and true. And it's there because it's worked. And so that's just one part of their funnel. They're doing email marketing, they're doing text messaging, they're doing conferencing, they're doing these events. And so the way I always see it is part of a system that they're playing with. The way I always choose my vendor is I get referrals. That's number one, understanding what they know what to do, what they don't know to do. And then I bring in a consultant that's a subject matter expert within the space that I need to work on. And then that individual is I don't know what I don't know is my second pair of eyes that can provide some context and some clarity for me, because I don't know when we started in the space of software development, I don't know what I don't know. I know a lot about digital, but I might not know the breadth and width of software development. So I brought in a consultant that gives me that expertise. So when I choose the right vendor, it's not just me choosing it, but it's that subject matter expert that can provide me that expertise. That's extremely important. The second piece that I see a ton of business owners, regardless of where you're at with your growth, fall into a pitfall is not knowing the pain point, not knowing what you're trying to actually fix. And so they'll come here and you start with X and they'll end up with D. They're like, wait, we started with X. Now we went through the alphabet and we're back on D. And literally I've had clients where we sign contracts about, hey, all I care about money, bring me more revenue, bring me more revenue, bring me more revenue. We, do a 300% increase in revenue. And they're talking to me about social media marketing. They're talking to me about branding. They're talking to me about my logo. And I'm like, wait, that's not what you hired me for. You hired me to drive revenue. I drove revenue and you're over here nickel and diming me on the brand. And so sometimes what clients say is not what they want. And, at the end of the day, we're an emotional animal. So you got to hear and you have to truly understand what you're trying to accomplish or what you're trying to fix.
Yeah, I agree with that 1,000%. I'm probably guilty of that at the same time. And I'll also say on the reference, as I just started another company, the Kronos Group, which is the podcast and the brand that I've done this podcast for years, and I rebranded it. And the Kronos Group is a peer-to-peer group that I put together. I was part of one for 25 years, and it's like the time I do my own. So when I was looking last year about how to put it together, I reached out to some people, again, online and had some great conversations. And one in particular, she had me sold. I mean, she really did. I started with the wrong question. I wasted all of my time, and I should have started with the referral question. I didn't. I started with I went through the process multiple days. She almost had me. It was easily a 5-figure spend. And I almost jumped to build the brand out. And at the end I asked her, shoot me some referrals real quick. Just, let me just check another box. And I don't do referrals. Like, why didn't I ask that question first? I could have saved myself all of the time, but I was blinded by getting this started, and I'm an entrepreneur and I've done this dozens of times and I'm excited about it. And I forgot some of the rules. So to your point, that's absolutely true. Let's back up just give us a quick 2-3 minute overview, kind of what brought you to this point. So the listeners have an idea of where you're coming from before we get into the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah, it's impact and scale. I was working for a Fortune 10 company out in New York, intellectually challenging work, and I respected my colleagues. I just didn't feel like I was having an impact in the things that I care about, like community, like growth, like scale. So I moved back to California and I started developing out an agency that really leverages technology and marketing for growth and scale. And I started with my local community business owners because I empathize with them. My mom and my dad were entrepreneurs. My family were entrepreneurs. And I saw how they struggled to adopt some of these solutions, digital and technological solutions for that scale. And that's where I said, this is where I want to live. And that's how I got started. I was presented in Stanford, this mission and vision. I did a leadership program out there. And there was a Google representative in the audience said, hey, we love your mission. Come work with us and do this at scale. And so that's where I started my journey, really understanding how to leverage and how to communicate value using technology and using marketing.
And let's define, it seems like the more agency owners I talk to, the more definitions I get of what an agency is. So let's just start with, let you define what what the name of the company is and what your company does.
No, I love the question. Sometimes A through Z, right? No, we're very specific. We work with businesses to growth and scale them using marketing solutions. I use 90% digital, 10% like non-digital, which is press, and technology like AI tools. But there's other AI tools CRM tools, software tools. And what we do is three things. We drive revenue, we lower operational costs, and we retain customers. In that lens, what you start realizing is the industry will slowly mold you into a space. Will say, hey, you're really good at this one thing. The market will tell you that this is the one space you really excel at. And so what we realize we really excel at is helping business owners grow and scale, but specific type of business owners. There needs to be a threshold there. And so we create tech stacks for them. We help them grow and sell. And what we realize is we're really good at presenting and developing programs for other organizations like financial institutions, like tech companies, like government organizations. And so we spun up a lot of content around helping drive programmatic elements for business owners, because we were ourselves a business owner and we we're touching so many businesses. We're like, hey, why is the Amazon doing this type of program? It would be better if they focus on these 2 or 3 different solutions to help their e-commerce businesses grow and scale, or vice versa for Meta or TikTok. And so that's what we became really skilled in, is developing those programs. And then we became very skilled in leveraging those solutions from learning those tech companies within certain sectors, primarily the banking, the credit union, the financial components. We're able to acquire a lot of businesses for those fintech companies for growth and scale.
You mentioned TikTok, a regular conversation among people trying to build their brands that I have noticed over the last 6 or 8 months as I've put my foot in this, is that TikTok is not for businesses. So when you mentioned it, that came to mind. So this is not one of my questions, but what is your take on TikTok relative to business? Seems like everybody's always preaching at me LinkedIn and maybe a little bit Facebook, but everybody seems to ignore TikTok. But to me, TikTok seems so massive and the reach is so wide that it would make sense if you could get to the correct people. And I'm on TikTok and I'm a business owner and I've got 20-some thousand followers on TikTok and I'm doing things there. That kind of rang hollow for me, but I don't know. What's your take?
Great question. I'm definitely living and breathing it as we speak. Well, I think it comes back to your strategy, right? Tactically, that's a great channel depending on your segmentation, not to get bogged down into who the heck are we talking to? Is this where my customers live? Simple questions like that. If I go to this event, this conference, is that where my customers live? Yes or no? So first, just does it pass the smell test? Does my customer live on TikTok? And then when you start thinking about we call it the rule of one segment, one message, one customer base, and one hook point. And so understanding what's the one message that I want to communicate, what's the one channel? It could be TikTok, it could be LinkedIn, it could be YouTube, it could be Instagram, but you have to specialize on that one channel. And then the one message using hook point. Hook point is, how do you provide information in a way that's engaging and unique that no one else does, right? And so there's a whole book on hook points, and I would highly recommend your audience to read it if they want to better understand how the media has been used to engage your attention. And you as a business owner can definitely use those strategies and tactics to create engaging content that drives engagement. That's usually what I see when I look at different clients that are saying, oh, this platform's not working for me, or that platform's not working for me. Well, are you segmenting the right person? Is your audience there to begin with, to start there? And then if it is there, you have one message, or you're like 20 messages and now they're confused of what you represent? And number 3, do you have content that's engaging, that kind of inverts the customer's attention and captures their attention? We're launching a program right now all around building websites and business solutions and social media brands, and it's all free because the banks gave us funding to provide this program. You'll be surprised. No one cares. No one cares about this free stuff. But we created a video where we told them, hey, what do you rather have, $15 or $150,000? That inverts expectations and that stops the scroll, which is what you want to do when you're creating these videos. It stops the scroll. You could talk about functionality till the cows come home, and we do this, that, and no one cares. You have to invert their expectations. You got to do the bait and switch. You got to engage them. So something like that would definitely stop the scroll. Or you could say, are these 15 seconds that I just talked to you worth $150? If it is, apply to this program. It's completely free. That really captures attention and keeps people focused in. So there's little things like that that can help you on the tail end of the tactical piece. but it all starts with segmentation, and it all starts with the right channel, and it all starts with the right message.
So are you saying that the right way to go is to pick a social media that is best suited to what it is that you're trying to sell, the audience is there, and just concentrate on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it might be?
Correct. So you can't have two masters, and you have to focus on one channel where you think your customer lives, specialize in that one channel, learn the ins and outs in that channel, an inch wide, a mile deep. And you'll start realizing, oh, wow, I did this for a couple of weeks to a couple months. It's now converting because I figured out the algorithm. I figured out what works and what doesn't work in this platform. Saturate that channel and then move on to the next channel if you saturate that channel correctly. Now, who knows? Some folks never saturate that channel because they do such a great job leveraging that channel that it just becomes a cash register for them. And so that's the recommendation we have. And then you could always repurpose it as a 90-10 split. You could say, okay, 10% of my time is going to be used to leverage these videos that I created across other channels, but I am focused on this one thing here, and hyper-focused, hyper-attention, and you drill, baby, drill in that one space.
Drill, baby, drill. I love it. What about then, as I understand it, the old SEO, which is still important. I don't know what the new vernacular is, the AIEO, right? Whatever
AEO,
we're calling it.
AEO, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So the AEO, what about the theory that those, if you're trying to build, that you are an expert in this field and you're trying to get the algorithm to read that correctly and you're trying to get the AI to go out and look at you as that expert, that you should, it's pretty prevalent across social media that you should be on as many of those as you can, because that brings, from an AI perspective, a level of expertise that will then get you referred more, or move you up in the way that it sees you. Do you see that to be a reality or not?
Again, I love this because we're talking tactically, and that's the sexy stuff to talk about, like what moves the needle tactically, paid ads, SEO, SEM. But when we think strategically, we start thinking about, okay, what is our message? What's the one thing we're saying to that one audience on that one channel? If you really hone in that one message and you want to be known, Jerry, as that one thing, that's what we're going to focus on. And then we're just going to create a ton of content around that one thing that you want to be known for. People don't have the attention span nowadays to think about you in 5 or 6 or 7 different ways. They have the attention span to know you for one and one thing only. And so what is that one thing you want to be known for? We create content around that one thing. It could be video content. It could be PDFs. It could be case studies, but you are that one thing to anyone that touches you. Every single time you go to a webinar, a podcast, you're that one thing. You create the content across social media channels. You create the content around websites, around blogs, around PDFs. You create that one thing around your videos. And guess what happens? You're rewarded with the algorithm. The algorithm now sees consistency across different platforms, across time. And that's what you want to see. And the more content you create and the more people refer you as that thought leadership, the higher authority you're going to have within that space.
And so in that context, if you want to put all of your effort into where your customers are, and like you said, drill, baby, drill, but it doesn't hurt to put it out to all of the other social media channels to help build that expert opinion based on the way the AI sees you.
Yeah, so I just want to have a caveat here. SEO, search engine optimization, is literally optimizing your presence on search engines, which means Bing, Google search, and it used to be Yahoo, but that's what SEO means. It does not mean social media. Social media can assist you, can have an outside effect on search engine optimization, but you should be focused on creating content on different websites, because the way the algorithm works on search engines is you type in your word, that word or phrase, keywords, key phrases, is going to be searched throughout the web. Certain platforms search websites, I think 40,000 pages a second. So they're seeing your phrasing across multiple platforms, across website pages, blog pages, other websites that are not owned by you, listing you as the thought leader, listing you as someone who knows this particular category, particular space. And then it compares to others and indexes you relative to other competition, other folks who are in the same category that you are. And it says, based on this, how much authority does this figure have? Let's refer these links to this person that used these keywords because they are the subject matter expert. And in other words, they're organizing the world's information to answer the questions that customers have when they're using search engines. AEO or AI SEO for those chat GPTs and the Geminis of the world now synthesizes everything and is pulling that information from actual content on websites, and it's listing it. Hey, we learned this information from different websites. So it's still using websites to concisely condense the information for you as a user of that ChatGPT or Gemini. What you have to still do is make sure that your content is great content. People want to engage with your content. People see value with your content. And then the algorithm is going to pull that information because it's always is making that judgment call. This content is great content. It answers the question of my customer, regardless if he speaks it or types it into the ChatGPT or the search engine, the search bar within ChatGPT or Gemini, or which other AI tools you have. That's SEO. So AI SEO. There's other tools. I just think very cursory level tactic that you can do there, but it basically works that way.
And is the world, I mean, it seems to me from the outside, the world is moving to the second example you gave, and at some point, the first one's going to become less and less relevant. Is that a true statement?
I wouldn't say so. I think what's more relevant right now and what trends that I'm seeing is predictive analytics. And that's something that we are going to have to tussle and wrestle with because it has a lot to do with privacy. And, you know, walking with your friend, you're talking about going out to, I don't know, Jamaica, Cancun, whatever, Valor, whatever place you like for vacationing. All of a sudden you get all these ads, all these advertising for that specific place, hotels, tours, dining recommendations, and you're wondering how the hell did they do that? Well, that's predictive analytics. And so what you're going to start seeing is that movement a lot more because these algorithms are becoming hyper aware of your purchasing habits. They're following your IP address. They're understanding you as an individual consumer. They're segmenting you out and they're saying, this consumer makes this much money, is this old, has this type of expectations, has this type of education, will spend time in these neighborhoods, will spend time on the weekends here. So if you're an advertiser that's trying to sell to this type of consumer, you should advertise to them at 7:57 in the afternoon and so that's what you're going to start seeing more and more and more of. And that's because of our privacy and the lax components of privacy now for ad agencies and advertising companies across the board, from, you know, Fortune 500 companies to your startups are leveraging these technologies. And so that's what I think you're going to see, and it's already happening right now.
So to that end, let's talk about content. This is something that, quite frankly, I always say I have these blooper reels that I did from when I started doing my podcast years ago, and all I did was try to do a read. And it was so ridiculously stupid. And it was just ended up cussing, and I couldn't look at the camera and do the read. I could have a conversation like you and I are having, but you make it a little more, you know, official, and I got to do this read, and I just couldn't do it. And it struck me how uncomfortable most people are in front of the camera. And yet we are told constantly that content is king. So let's talk about, you know, from an entrepreneurial perspective, you're going to come out, you're going to build a brand for yourself. What is the requirement really to do it the right way for entrepreneur? I guess it might be business specific, but let's just use a generalized. What is going to be required of them to build that brand, start to grow sales, start to build up their reputations, you know, as an expert?
It all depends how fast they want to move and how much they want to. I think what's way more important is identifying your customer, really getting granular into understanding who you're selling to, what their pain points are, and why they should trust you. If you get those three things right, you're going to sell hotcakes till the cows come home. That piece is not going to change. And the human interaction piece is not going to change. Having that high touch and that high quality allows you to move up the value chain. And now you can charge a premium for your services or your products because you created that personalized touch. The content amplifies that. It allows you to not be on 24/7. Your website, your landing pages, your blogs, your videos, all of that is running 24/7, 7 days a week, working for you in the background, which helps you expedite that process. But it doesn't start without understanding who your customer is, what your message is, and why you're going to make the life easier for your customer. Once you figure those three things out, the rest is rinse and repeat across all channels, all platforms, especially if you learn where your customer lives and drill down in that space and own that channel. So that's really the important piece. And then the content will come. You'll start realizing, oh man, I increased 300% revenue for this company within my segment. I need to tell everyone, yes, you create a case study for that. You create a video for that. You create a testimonial for that. And then you push it out in your channel. It feeds itself. And that's the part and parcel. You create maybe a joint venture. Who owns that channel that I don't own as I'm starting out? How do we amplify? How do we scale? Well, you're one of one, but this big multinational corporation has been at it for 50 years, has a book of business of 100,000 people. Why am I, knocking on doors when these guys have 100,000 folks already? Let me figure out how to work with them, how to join their organization, how to amplify myself, leveraging their network already. And so you start realizing this is how you go and you scale these businesses. And this is how you go and join different associations, different societies, and different conferences, because those businesses already have that scale and are adjacent to your consumer. And so you want to get in front of them. Content comes after that. Like you get the success, and now you're like, oh, look, JP Morgan Chase, Visa, or Capital, American Express, I'm now speaking on my behalf. They're saying, oh, you want to meet that one guy who's really good at driving leads for you? Talk to Braven Agency. You want to talk to that one guy that knows small business and can scale you within a matter of a year? Talk to Jerry, because you're known as that guy now. And so the content just adds the validity. Now you have, some people are like, oh, can you send me some stuff about them? Okay, that's secondary. Okay, here's some white papers, case studies. But now you have people championing you when you're not in the room.
And to that end, a lot of people think that content is all about going viral. In the new world today, is that true? Do you have to go viral for that content to have value?
It's all about scale. I don't care about reaching 100 people. I care about reaching that one person that's my customer, not the 99 who are not my customer. And so in that regard, you play in the sandbox you want. If you're B2C, you got to go after everyone. And so maybe there's some value in virality, especially when it comes to a universal product or service that you're selling that everyone wants to buy. Not everyone wants to buy what I'm selling, and that's good. The more niche I am, the easier it is to market. That's something clients, my business owners sometimes forget. Like, what? Why would that be better for you? Because it's easier. Your universe is smaller, and once you're known within that universe, it's over. You win. Now you have to be careful. You got to follow up on your promises and deliver, versus a broader, larger audience has more upside, more customer acquisitions. Think about a product, a simple product like a pen. Everyone uses the pen, highly competitive, become a commodity. But now if you're niche, wow, there's only 100 conferences in the whole world, per se, for this one industry or one sector. I could do that. I could hit every single one of those. And it's just pressure and time now.
So as we go down that path, and I'm going to come back to, it just sticks in my ear, and I think it's just a constant refrain. It's just how do I avoid wasting money? So what are the most common ways that small and mid-sized businesses, and let's say, 7 and 8 figure businesses waste money on and maybe even smaller than that. Let's take it back to, less than $20 million. What are common ways they waste money on marketing? Maybe they're chasing trends or they're doing something old. Is there something off the top of your head that you would answer that to go, don't do this if you want to avoid wasting your money? Your better opportunity is this, like in the entrepreneurial space, I'd say, Jerry, I want to be an entrepreneur, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'd say, okay, whatever you do, don't go in the restaurant business. Don't do that. So just everything else, but just don't do that. As an example, though, is there something that you can tell our folks, to help them avoid that?
Yeah, no. I love the question. It's got to be a little nuanced. I think you're right. With certain industries, the margins aren't there. It doesn't make any sense. You're working 100 hours a week and you're going gray very quickly. So it doesn't make sense for you to go in there. I love that idea. Like there's certain industries that you just don't want to play with. And then there's other things like knowing your why. That's super important. Knowing what's going to pull you through these difficult times. But I always start with systems. If you have systems down, it sounds boring and not sexy at all. But it forces you not to follow every trend and to learn how to say no. It's not about building the mountain. It's about carving that mountain into a hill and realizing what your one thing truly is and saying no more than saying yes. And I would say if you have a system, it forces you to stay on path, right? Oh, that's not our client. Sometimes the toy is what everyone wants to go after. And you're like, is that part of my system? Does that make sense for my customer? I already have these kind of check marks that I need to go down. So no, I shouldn't be doing this. I should keep going down my path. And I think sometimes what you see a lot is entrepreneurs chasing as opposed to sticking to their systems. And when we talk about AI and we talked about big data and we talk about marketing analytics and predictive analytics, it's those folks that have a system in place that can take that technology and drop it into their system. Those are the ones that are going to win in the next 2 to 5 years. You have to have that workflow built out. If you're making 20 million, 10, 20 million, you already have workflows. You already have manuals. You already have all these workflows built out. Okay, great. Now let me take agentic AI and show how to expedite that, because some of the things we don't need a human in this process. And so we can offboard. And so what we see, and this is just my personal lived experience for the past 2 years, that's what you're seeing with top of the funnel Fortune 500 companies. They have a lot of operational excellence. They know how to deliver, and humans have been running the program for them. And now with AI, well, some of those workflows can be moved off of humans and can be given to a AI tool that streamlines that process. So instead of having 5 people, you have 1 person that can add value when you need to add value, but doesn't need to do the day-to-day operational stuff that's repetitive, that is done every single week or every single day. And so you can start laying off some of that workforce. Inversely, what you see with businesses who are scaling, who are going from $500,000 to $1 million to $5 million to $10 million, you see them hire more talent because they're realizing, I have to operationalize everything. I have to automate everything. I have to create SOPs for everything. I have to create, the sales pitch for every single segment. I'm like, oh, that's done already? Great. Now I could leverage AI. But initially, AI will show them, oh, you're missing this, and I can't do it. You need someone in that loop to build that out for you. So you start seeing businesses around the $1 million mark, $2 million mark, $3 million mark, $5 million mark, hire more talent to capture some of that value that AI is providing to them. And then they get to the point where like, okay, we got it. All right, we don't need as many workforce bees to execute on this. And so that's what we're seeing right now. I don't know if it's going to stay like that or not, but it's interesting from my perspective.
Well, and it's a great segue into, as we move from branding into AI operations, if you will, to give it a term. One of the things in doing my research about you, there's a lot of noise about AI right now, right? And all entrepreneurs, I mean, really everybody in the world is like, how do I use AI? But entrepreneurs in particular, trying to figure out how do they do exactly what you just described. And you're clear that AI works best as a teammate, not necessarily a replacement. How do founders think about deploying that AI in a way that, like you said, reduces the workload, maybe in the interim reduces the head count, but makes the need for, as you grow, adding more people, not less, being more productive, not less, finding more margin, not less, at a minimum, protecting that margin as you grow, which is really easy to lose that margin as you scale, and not creating the kind of chaos that comes when somebody is scaling $1, $2, $3, $5 million.
Yeah, no, great point. And I'll touch on 2. The first is operational excellence and understanding that component as a business owner of how do I do more with less? How do I move something that's 10 hours to 2 hours, 3 hours? AI is great for that. You still need a human in the loop. You still know someone that does that added value and creates that moat around you. So I'll give you a concrete example of something that's happened within our agency. So we create brands for different clients and different companies. And, brand consists of a logo, all these things. So let's just take the logo, the actual look. You have a logo top right here. So that logo, typically you'll have a designer create 2 or 3 logos, present in front of the customer, and that takes 8 to 10 hours. Present in front of the customer. Customer's like, well, I like this aspect, that aspect. I don't like this aspect. You come back, you wither that down to 2 options. Those 2 options become 1 option, and then there's fine tuning. Now, you can use AI to give them 3 concepts very quickly. Goes from 10 hours to 2 hours. It's still 3 concepts. Client says, I like these 2 concepts, and then they circle down to 1. And the designer will come in and says, great, I didn't have to spend 10 hours. I spent 2 hours to give you 3 concepts. And now I could hyper focus on the rest of my time, building out that one logo that's going to make you love your design. And so that's what we see with AI on the design element. There's a lot of other components here that we can talk about when it comes to agentic AI. And so that's what we're seeing operationally within the marketing agency space. You still need a human in that process, and the value add is in the human, them thinking differently about a problem or a solution, and then using the agentic AI to expedite that process. That's what you see with success, and that allows you to have a moat around your business and capture some of that value that AI is doing. The beauty is, you're not in competition with AI. You're in competition with other businesses in your sector, in your industry that are leveraging AI for growth and scale. So it's not a matter of if, but when. And so that's what we try to get customers to understand. Hey, we understand we are using AI. We're never going to hide that, but we're creating the solution so you can have it instead of in a month, you could have it in 2 weeks, you could have it in 1 week to get you to market faster, to capture those opportunities faster. Now, building that moat is secondary, right? So now that we understand that it's going to save us dollars in the short to medium term, how do we build a moat? And that's when the new bells and whistles come in. This is when you start thinking about lateral thinking of, hey, if I could capture this market share, what's the next market share that I could capture? How do I protect my margins? Can this tool expedite the process of going to market with the new product line that I have now that I'm thinking about these problems in different ways? And that's a thought leadership partner. We see a lot of that, but that's more on the 10, 15, 20, $25 million scale. Mm-hmm. We have a great partner right now that does this for the banking institutions. And what they said is like, yeah, we're using AI, but you also can capture some of the traditional value of outsourcing or near sourcing your solution. And so they're marrying the two to make it a more valuable value proposition to their clientele. So it just depends, but operational excellence is number one. And then if you have workflows already built in, using AI to expedite those workflows to shrink from 10 hours to 2 hours is where you see value.
Is there a limit on that moat? Meaning, are we at the point that we're so early to this that first adopters are going to get the value of the margin between, the productivity increases without a revenue degradation relative to, everyone's doing it, everybody's more efficient, therefore the price of everything has come down? Are we in that early stages of that, and that margin's going to start to get whittled down on us over time? So, to your point, first in usually gets the benefits of it.
Well, Jerry, you hit the nail on the head. I think that's exactly what you'll see with insurance sectors. My sector specifically, you're going to see that come to bear. And that forces us to think differently about what the future looks like in the next 2 to 5 years. And what do I mean by that? We talked about content. What's the value of what you're doing, Jerry? You can amplify your voice to 1 million people if they see this podcast. And so now you become the value add, not the solution itself. And so that consulting role is something that we see a lot happening within certain industries. They're like, hey, we just can't compete anymore. This is going to be driven to zero or close to zero in the next 5 or 7 years. Let me start building that bridge to the next phase of my career or my company where I add value through consulting, through understanding the different paradigm shifts, and creating a bridge for other people to cross over. And so that's what we're seeing. But there's just a lot of opportunity here. And there is still time on the clock, but it's ticking. And we need 2 of them, and we need them yesterday, as my old consulting friend would say. And that's the value of what we have here. You have to start playing with these tools. 1998 timeline if we think back to the internet. So we're about to hit that bust cycle, but right now the money's being spent so fast in the AI space that you can still identify how to protect yourself when that bust does come.
Is the AI from the outside? I wouldn't qualify myself. I'm not a neophyte about technology or how I'm not a Luddite, by any stretch of the imagination. I can't code, but I understand what can be coded, that sort of thing. And from the outside looking in, it seems like there's this gold rush and everyone feels like I've got to get into this right now.
Yeah.
But doing things for the sake of doing them, I've never found to be valuable. And so to the entrepreneur that feels, they're on the outside looking in and everyone just pounding into our heads, AI, what is your answer to them?
Yeah, no. We talked about knock-on effects. We talked about nothing new is under the sun already. It's just repackaged, reformatted, and remarketed. So just identify your pain points. Literally, start there. What are the 3 biggest pain points that I currently have as a business owner? What am I trying to solve for those pain points? And then it's just like any other tool. It's just a lot of hype around it, but it's just like any other tool. If you identify your 3 pain points and your 3 bottlenecks that are really stopping you from growing, 90% of the time, I'll tell you right now, I don't need an AI tool. It's that you're spread too thin. You're going after too many clients. Focus on one client, specialize. 90% of businesses would do well to do that one thing. And then once you become a multi-billionaire, then you can start capturing other vertices. But first, make that one client love you, be known for that one thing. But if you move past that and you can identify your 2, 3, 4 pain points, then run it through AI. Hey, are these pain points solvable with AI? Can I use AI to deleverage my risk here, or to grow my sales here, or to improve my operations here? And it'll give you a blueprint to go about executing on that. But it always starts with your pain point. It always starts with knowing yourself, like everything in life. If you don't have the right question, you don't have the right answer. Mm-hmm. So you have to have the right question.
But Roberto, you don't understand. This guy wants me to do this. And I saw on social media that this young 25-year-old had 4 businesses and he had 12 different ways of passive income coming into him. And I just have this one little thing and it makes me money and it's good, but I should go do this and should go do this and should go do this. You're telling me I should concentrate on the thing that's actually making me money? Not look at social media, man.
I'll tell you one thing that really helped me, and it's run your race. Now, I'm not worried about the person to the left, to the right room. I'm running my race. I know what I need to do. I'm learning, and this is hyper focused. That in the age of, they say goldfish is not true. Goldfish attention spans. The person who can focus is going to win out. And so just run your race. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. You know what you should be doing. Once you're ready to adapt and adopt these new tools, because you have systems in place, you're going to grow, you're going to scale, but keep those systems, run your race. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Be known for that one thing, and customers are going to find you. They're going to fight for you.
Yeah, I agree. That's great. Because again, inundated by these things on social, the whole, if you're working more than 4 hours a week and you're not driving a Lamborghini, you're doing something that as an entrepreneur wrong.
Oh man, that's hilarious. No, I seldom meet in my life. I've got the privilege and pleasure to meet some folks who've done well for themselves, in the 8-figure, 9-figure range. And I'll tell you that they're not chasing those trends. They done really well to focus on what they do really well. And they just build a moat around, hey, I'm going to be the best in this space and I'm going to grow it from this market. And then once I am known as that one thing, I'm going to expand to the next market and the next market. And I'm going to eat everyone's lunch here because I got it ran so efficiently, no one can compete with me.
Yeah, I love it. So, I like to do at the end of these podcasts, a little speed round. So I'm going to ask you 4 or 5 questions, and just as succinctly and as few words as possible, what comes to mind for 4 or 5 of these questions here really quick as we go out. Number 1, the biggest AI misconception you see?
Inability to scale. Folks don't know how to scale.
One content habit this is good. Yeah. A content habit that quietly is burning people out when doing their content.
Consistency is key. And so again, if you don't have a system and it's painful pulling teeth, you need to go back and create the system before you start doing that content every single day, especially video content. You have to have the system in place before you do that.
Yeah, that's, and I want everybody to hear that. That's really good, because that is a complaint I hear all the time. Jerry, I don't know how you do so many videos, and it's just this time of the day and the video's got to get done and you got to find the subject and you just got to sit down and you got to make it happen. Then it becomes almost a lifestyle, right? It becomes a habit, and then it becomes a lifestyle once you get it disciplined. What most businesses misunderstand, we talked about SEO and AIEO, whatever we're calling it earlier. What do they misunderstand about that today?
Yeah, exactly what we talked about AI, SEO, and SEO, that it all starts with content. And when you think about the content, it all starts about you. I'm being repetitive because it bears repeating. You need to be known for one thing only, maybe 2 at most. Focus on that. You'll be fine. The world's going to know you for that one thing, especially if you have a niche product or service.
A marketing tactic that's overrated.
Yeah, I think some of those social media posts that you're talking about, those video posts that you're talking about, I think if you really go back to what the pain point is of your customer, and you could focus on that pain point and really provide some solutions there, you're going to do well. So don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Read the book, Hook Point. It's a great book. It kind of gives you the blueprint of how to go about creating viral videos. It's, surprise, surprise, all about systems.
Is there a clear sign? I mean, this question is a little more complicated, so it's probably not great. Well, I'll make this my last question. You have a marketing system in place. Let's say sales are starting to come in. So you're getting results there. It's profitable work. You're trying to build your brand. You're getting followers and back and forth and commentary, and you're starting to build that, and it looks good. Is that, this is probably a stupid question, but I always say only stupid people don't ask stupid questions. So I'm going to ask a stupid question. From a marketing perspective, is there how we can tell if it's actually working? You're getting those results that you're looking for, or is there something more that we should be trying to do over and above? I'm bringing in the sales. I seem to be growing that brand, whatever that thing that we are trying to do with that. Is there something more we should be looking for? Is there more things that we should be doing, or is that it? We're just trying to get that result that we're looking for.
Jerry, there's no such thing as stupid questions. So that should never be said ever. It's just, folks, we have to meet them where they're at, not where we want them to be. That's big. And so to that point, really what it comes down to, if you're doing that well, and if you're doing that one thing repeatedly very well, what I've seen, bar none, I've been at this different companies for 20 plus years, is you move up the value chain. If you're doing the marketing right, and if you're delivering the promise, what ends up happening is you have so much demand that your time becomes the value. So now you move upstream and say, hey, you know what? It's not going to be $1,000. It's going to be $5,000. It's going to be $10,000. Mm-hmm. And you start moving up. That happens to 90% of businesses that I've dealt with. They did everything right. They're known for that one thing. And now they can't service everyone. So they're saying, okay, well, we have to increase our prices. And they start increasing their prices. And then they say to me, I should have done this 5 years ago. And I was like, well, yes, like that's also true. Getting one client that's worth $100,000 versus 10 clients are worth $10,000 is going to make your life a lot easier. Yeah. The only way you go about doing that is delivering on your promises, and then using marketing to keep driving that pipeline of sales so that you can go up value. So I think that if you get more business and you know what to do with, it's time for you to raise your prices.
Yeah, that's good advice. I could go on forever. I mean, this is just such a hot topic, particularly with small businesses, that I think that there's a million questions. And if they have them, you are certainly somewhere that people can go. It's bravenagency.com, BRAVEN agency.com. Where's Braven come from? What's that name?
Brave entrepreneurs, brave ventures, right? Folks are brave. You're brave, Jerry. You jumped off the deep end and you're making it work. So I see entrepreneurs as very brave. So brave ventures. So
awesome. So bravenagency.com. Last little plug for yourself, but tell us specifically, we are a 7 or low 8-figure entrepreneur running a business. We're making some money. Can you help us?
Yes, we have Crawl, Walk, and Run, and then Enterprise. We help you drive leads, convert those leads, and retain those leads. So if you're in that range that can hold a retainer, we want to work with you. And if you don't, we'll find partners that would work for you. We don't believe in no. Like we said earlier, if we can't service you, we'll have other folks that can service you at your price range. But we got into that point where we can't accept everyone under the sun. And we work with amazing partners that provide some free resources like Google. I'm a Google coach. I provide free training at no cost. I work with Wells Fargo. We do free trainings across the state of California, and we give free solutions across the state of California through that program called the Digital Communities Program. So if you're in California, you want some free services, feel free to apply to that program. If you want to work with myself and my agency to grow and scale and get you to 7-figure, 8-figure numbers, feel free to reach out to me.
Yeah, fantastic. Roberto, this was great. I mean, it really was. Everybody go check him out, Braven Agency. If this sounds like it is for you, one of my first questions, as we all know, is we're all so suspect of these agencies and helping us build out our businesses. That's why when they come and sit down for an hour-long interview, clearly he knows what he's talking about. He's got the reputation. I'm sure you'd give us some people we can talk to if we got to the point that you have helped out. And I would highly recommend you guys call the Braven Agency and see what Roberto can do for you guys. Appreciate you coming on, my friend. Thank you very much for the interview.